Hello. This is my first time doing this, so I don't really know what I'm doing. And little Nicholas wants to join me. For moral support, right? I'm just kind of keeping a diary of. Sorry. Sorry. I'm not very organized and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm trying to do this in my bedroom. But I do have backdrops. Look at my theme here. So it kind of doesn't work, but whatever. And Nicholas is going to make himself right at home right there. Hi. Hi, Nicholas. Anyway, so I just want to tell my story of my disastrous trip to Paris. I went to England because I had been working remotely for about 4 years, ever since COVID. And I'd been working from pet sitting clients' houses, and when I'd go to my aunt's house in Reno or whatever. So I could pretty much work from anywhere. So I asked my company if it would be okay for me to work from England, and they didn't really answer me. They called somebody, actually, not the woman that I contacted, but whoever was covering her while she was on vacation, called me to say something about they didn't have a policy in place, but they didn't really want people doing it, but they didn't really have a policy, and I didn't really remember what she even said. Nothing in writing, so I emailed the HR person 2 more times after that and said, if it's not allowed, can I just take off unpaid time, like a leave of absence or something? And they never got back to me then either. So a little while later, another employee, another woman, emailed that she was going to be out of the country and she'd be working out of Germany for a month. So I thought, well, if it's okay for her to work out of the country, then obviously there's like not legal ramifications or anything like that. I looked into all the things about if you're working for a foreign company, if you need a visa, if you taxes and protecting all the information and stuff because of work. So I was on October 26th, boarded the plane to England, and I hadn't been back for 28 years. I think I was there in 97. I did a study abroad program in 97. We actually arrived the day Diana died. We were in London when that happened. And for the whole week, we were in London while they were doing all the funeral stuff. So that was a pretty amazing experience to be part of. And then I hadn't been able to go back, but I just became like so in love with England, British history. I really got into British history. I love watching British television shows and British period dramas, and I had been wanting to go back for years and years and years, but life always got in the way. I was working, always renting, so had to go to work. Couldn't really take that much time off. Couldn't even afford to go like on a vacation period because I was always living paycheck to paycheck. And so when I was working remotely, I was able to do pet sitting. Plus, I got another job. So I was working 3 jobs for that year, saving up enough so that I could go to England again. And I was trying to kind of like recreate the experience of studying abroad so that I would just be living there. I wouldn't be like, I'm a tourist and I have 5 days here and, I've got to schedule everything, make sure I see everything in the time that I have. And so I boarded my plane and I was so excited. I had been looking forward to this for so long. And the first week I was in London, so I was a tourist for 1 week. The first week I was in London, I didn't work. And I just went to Madame Tussauds and I did mudlarking. Most people don't know what that is, but you go to the River Thames, and when the tide is low, when it's low, you can dig in the sand for like artifacts and stuff like that. So I went with a tour for that. That was really interesting. You find little bits of pipes, like smoking pipes, from the 18th century or whatever, pieces of pottery. And I stayed in an Airbnb in a little town called Camborne that was kind of outside of Cambridge. Because when I stayed there, when I was studying abroad, I stayed with a family in a little area that was like a suburb kind of called Impington. And I would take the bus into Cambridge every day for school. So I just planned to do that again. Because if you get a place in Cambridge, it's a lot more expensive and a lot smaller. You get a lot less for your money, and it's really harder to find because I was even lucky finding what I found, and I'd been booking for months in advance. So I stayed there and just lived like worked like I was working from home. I would just do my regular work schedule. So I was there for a while, and then in November, my friend came to visit me, um, and her friend, she came with her friend from her job, and we all met in London and took the Eurostar to Paris, and we spent the first couple of days in Paris seeing the sights there, and then the second we spent 2 days at Disneyland Paris, Euro Disney, whatever you want to call it. I had been there before when I studied abroad, but we got there so late that we could only go on one ride. So I think we got to spend like an hour or two there. So I wanted to go back and actually see the rest of it. And so we went for 2 days since the other time I wasn't able to spend very much time there at all. But 2 days was kind of too much. I really didn't have that much to fill up 2 days there, except the Haunted Mansion there is really good. The Space Mountain goes upside down, but it's called Hyperspace Mountain, and it is like hyper hard on your head. It will give you a headache. If you are prone to headaches, it will give you a headache. If you're not prone to headaches, it will give you a headache. My friend that we went with was pregnant, and she was kind of concerned about like what rides she could go on because a lot of them say you can't go on them if you're pregnant, but then you go on it and it's like nothing. It's no big deal. But after I got off of the Hyperspace Mountain and I was like, I was like, yeah, you definitely would have lost your baby if you'd gone on that. That was a good call. So anyway, so the end of the first day, I was running to catch up with my friends and tripped on my shoe on a bridge and smacked my head against the pavement. And my glasses broke right here. This part went into my eyebrow, and I had a piece embedded in my eyebrow here for a really long time. It eventually worked its way out, but I think there's still a little, yeah, there's still a little piece in there. And I still have scars here from falling. I have scars on my knees. I ripped my jeans. My knee was just like a bloody hole in my knee. And both knees were scraped up really bad. And I was like gushing blood from my head. Plus my glasses were broken. So I had to go to the first aid and get bandaged up and get some souvenir Disneyland Paris souvenir bandages and tape for my glasses, which looked really classy. But I went on to go back and went another day the next day at Disneyland. Another thing. I came down with a flu or cold or something while I was there, just like horrible sore throat, runny nose, and that whole fun stuff. And so I was going around Disneyland with bandages all over, blood on my knees, shredded jeans, and getting sick. And then we went on the Eurostar and we had to stop in Lille. And in Lille, when we were going on to London, the border force stopped us. And actually, my friends got through with no problem. And they stopped me. And I had been flagged for some reason. I was flagged when I came in to Heathrow the first time. And they asked me, like, what are you doing? Why are you here? How long are you here? Where are you staying? And to show receipts and all my bookings of where I was staying and my hotel reservations and all these things and showing that I had enough money to stay there that long. They wouldn't tell me why I was flagged. I didn't know why I was flagged. So eventually I found out that there's a house sitting site that I signed up for that if you're traveling, you can stay in people's houses and do pet sitting for them in exchange for free accommodations. So you don't have to pay for a hotel or whatever. And then they get free pet sitting. So it's like a win-win for everybody, except that the government thinks it's not good because they don't get taxes. Because it's like they consider it work that you're not getting paid for. And you have to have a special work visa. So they're really cracking down on that, especially in England. I think England and the US are really bad. So if you sign up for that site, whether you're actually pet sitting while you're on vacation, they will stop you when you enter the country and detain you. And I was detained for this reason, even though I had hotel reservations and everything. And they detained me for, my friends went on, they got on the train home, didn't know where I was. I was stuck behind going through, they interrogated me, went through all my bags, went through all my stuff, read my postcards that I had written to people back home. They, I had to show them receipts and all of my bookings and every place I was staying. And I had to show them my bank records to show that I had enough money in savings to pay for my trip and everything. And my return ticket home, which I was supposed to be flying home on December 19th. And then I was detained there for a while. And eventually they let me go and I got on the train. And I looked like I looked horrible. I was sick and I had bandages on here and blood on my knees and scraped up hands, bandages everywhere, taped up glasses. It looked like I'd been beaten up. And I thought like maybe they thought I was being trafficked or something because I know that's a big problem there. So finally they let me go and I got on the next train, a later train, and then I got an Uber because I was just like so tired. I was just like, I am not dealing with buses. I'm not dealing with walking. I am sick. I look horrible. I've been beaten up. I'm bloody and I've been interrogated for hours. I just wanted to get home. So then I was sick for a week after that. I was like horribly sick, like for a week, but I still worked and did all my regular work. And then I got a phone call from my manager or my supervisor at work, and they fired me because I think Border Force maybe called them to verify that I worked for them. And since they hadn't given me permission, they decided that they were going to fire me for going, even though somebody else went, and that was fine for them to go, but it wasn't for me. So for whatever reason, I always had good reviews every year, got raises with every review. There's a cat fight outside. Sorry. So, Nicholas! It's okay. Oh, Benny's still outside. Hold on. And we're back! Just kidding. We're back. I'm back. Benny's back in the house. And I'm getting comfortable. Sorry. Bear with me. So, the rest of the story. I got fired and had to cut my trip short. I actually had to already cancel. I had another trip planned. I was going to go to Germany for the Christmas markets, but because I would have been detained again, I had to cancel that. Otherwise, I would have been stranded with no way to get back to England if I had been detained and missed the rest of the bus. I would have missed the coach going back to England. So sorry if I'm making people sick. Nobody's watching this anyway, so it's okay. So I had to cancel that and lose a bunch of money because it was non-refundable at that point. And I really wanted to go too. It would have been so neat going to the Christmas markets in Germany. I had to cancel my other Airbnbs and lose all the money that I'd already spent on that also, and get my flight changed so that I could fly out in a couple of days. And I mean, I could have stayed, I guess, because it was already paid for, but I needed a job, so I couldn't look for a job from there. And plus, so many things kept going wrong on this trip. It was just one thing after another. And it was just kind of like, something is telling me that I don't need to be here. Because this is not working out, obviously. Everything that could go wrong was going wrong. It was like the trip from hell. So, I just kind of wanted to go home at that point. I was just like, done. So, I got my flight changed and I flew home just a little before Thanksgiving. Luckily, my mom was able to pick me up at the airport, and we went home and had Thanksgiving at my house. And the very next day, my cat died. My little 1-year-old cat that I had raised from 10-day-old kitten that I had to feed because she wasn't gaining weight. She was the runt of the litter, a litter of 8 kittens, and I just came in the room and she was dead, and I don't know why or what happened. And I was thankful that I had gone home, that I was there for that I got to spend some time with her before she died, but it was still just super tragic. I don't think I'll ever get over it. But I was really glad that I got to be there. And it was just like, great, what else? I had this horrible trip that I was looking forward to for years, basically, that went wrong. I lost my job. I come home, my cat dies. It was just one thing after another going wrong. And so my one thing was like, after all that, I want a redo. I want to go back to Paris. When I was there, I fell in love with it and I just wanted to be there longer. And especially when we took the Seine tour and I wanted to walk along the Seine and go on like the boat, like on Charade, when they go under the bridges and you can hear the echoing. And it was just so romantic. And I just wanted to go back and be there longer. So that's kind of my like redemption trip I'm planning. I want to go back and like do it right this time because everything went wrong last time. So I'm going to do a redo and I'm going to learn from my mistakes. This time I'm not going to work. I'm going to just take a week off if once I get a job, because at this point I just have to take what I can get because it looks really bad on my resume right now that I don't have a current job. And when I have to explain why I don't have a job right now, it's kind of tricky. But once I find a job, my plan is just to go to Paris for like a week and not really do touristy stuff, but try to like live like the locals. Go get coffee or whatever people do and not be like staying in a hotel with other tourists and doing touristy stuff with tourists all over the place. I just want to kind of have the experience of living there. So I just want to go for a week and live there. And then maybe in the future, if I get a remote job where I can just take off a lot of time or I can just work from wherever I'm at and go to Paris for a month or 2 months. And then maybe one day possibly move there. Possibly, I was looking into getting a visa, like a nomad visa, digital nomad. So if I got a remote job, I could be a digital nomad, get a digital nomad visa. And I think it's easiest to go in Spain, which is not too far from France. And so I've been looking into doing that and then possibly renting out my house. And the only problem is my cats. I have 5 cats. So it's kind of, can't really rent out a house with 5 cats. So I don't know if I would take them with me because taking 5 cats on an airplane to France doesn't sound fun. So I don't really know about that. But anyway, in the future, it's a possibility. And then maybe when I retire, I can buy something there. If the economy ever allows me to retire. But I can dream. And if my house ever goes up in value, maybe I can move to France one day. But the goal for now is to try to find a job so that I can go back to France and redo it. And I'm going to do it simple this time. I'm not going to have anything planned. I'm just going to have a place to stay and nothing planned. Just wander around and do whatever I feel like. So, the less plans you make, the less plans can go wrong. That's the lesson I learned. And in the meantime, keeping track of my journey. And if anybody cares and has listened to me babbling this long, then stay tuned and see where I end up, if I end up going. And follow my adventures, because I am the real Emily. Not quite in Paris, but going to Paris. This year, that's the plan. When I get a job, my first order of business is to Save up enough money and get a plane ticket to Paris. Step one. I guess that's it. Fade out. Stay tuned.